Hawaii Entertainment News, where we will talk about all the news that's happening around the film and entertainment industry in Hawaii.
You're supposed to say, I told you so.
Enough. Are you okay?
Oh my gosh, he's Superman!
This is a video game, which means we all have special skills.
Aloha and welcome to another episode of Hawaii Entertainment News. This is Leilani K. Aloha. Today, we have a famous celebrity still photographer with us. Please welcome Erik Kabik.
Thanks for having me. Well, as you said, I'm a still photographer, and I've been based out of Las Vegas for the last almost 25 years. And I started coming to Hawaii about 6 years ago, just to, it was a place to escape, just a beautiful place. Like, why anybody comes to Hawaii, you want to go to paradise. And I made some good friends here right away who were born and raised here, and taught me a lot about the history of the islands and the people of Hawaii, and I just felt a really strong connection to it, and I kept coming back over and over. And a few years ago, I had a loss of my father, who I was very close to, my best friend, and I wanted to heal, and I just knew that this was the place for me to do it. It was like a place to go to, it seemed, I could feel that transformative power of the islands, and I was like, that'll be a place to heal and work through this. And when I came here, it just felt like home, and I was so welcomed, and understood that meaning of ohana kind of right away, because these friends of mine just embraced me and helped me kind of work through all that. And I decided to start working while I was here, because I was spending longer lengths of time here, and I said, you know what, I'm going to shoot here. There's so many beautiful things, and see what's out there, and bring some of the skills that I've learned in Las Vegas to Hawaii, and maybe start kind of expanding what I'm doing, and offer some of that here and see how that goes. And I started doing some shooting right away when I got here, mostly landscapes, and my background was in rock photography. That's where I began. So that's kind of what, if anybody were, Googled me or something, the main thing you would find would be rock and roll photos. Okay. Carlos Santana, someone I've shot a lot, more than most. I've been touring with Journey the last couple of years. But I mainly shot rock bands. And then over time, I kind of expanded that into the celebrity realm for a short period of time. And then into food and beverage and architecture. So kind of like a Renaissance photographer in a way, where I learned a lot of different things as opposed to being in a niche of rock photography. And it's a balance too. Don't get me wrong, it's when you're in the business, there's also a bar of professionalism that you want to bring to it, and make sure that you bring to the industry that it has a value, and it should be something that people value, so you can survive doing it, but never letting go of that passion and understanding the difference between those two things. That's been a tricky part of it. It's always a balance. Well, I'll tell you a little bit how I started. I'm a Grateful Dead fan. As you see, I have a Jerry Garcia on my shirt. And when I was young, I'd go to Grateful Dead concerts, and I started bringing in my camera to shoot the shows, and they let me into the pit, and I got some professional-ish looking photos. So that's when it all began to click, that maybe this could be something I could do as a career. And then when I got to Vegas a couple years later, I started shooting for a local magazine and giving them my photos of the concerts, and then started getting assignments. And I shot everything from the Grateful Dead to the Rolling Stones to a lot of classic rock bands are ones that stand out to me, because that's a genre that I love so much. Carlos Santana is someone I ended up working with for a number of years, as he was a resident in Vegas. Did a lot of shows with him over the years, and that was a really great experience. And I've done, when I look back on it, it's kind of blows my mind on some of the shows that I've done, like some of my favorite artists, and then stuff I would never probably have gone to photograph. Like I've shot a Justin Bieber concert once, you know what I mean? Like, or a lot of pop shows, a lot of pop bands. And some of the greatest shows I think I ever shot were probably the Rolling Stones concerts, because they were just so iconic. That was awesome. And last year here, I got to work on one show before all this happened. When Janet Jackson was here, I worked on that show, and I did some shots through Live Nation for Janet, and did some meet and greet stuff with her backstage. And that's when I was starting to get the momentum going here on music. So that's kind of on hold for the moment, but that'll come back. But that was a great show to shoot. She was awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a sensory overload when you're in the pit of a concert, and it depends on what kind of artist it is, I'll give you an example. Who was it? Like Ed Sheeran I shot not long ago. There's one guy up there with an acoustic guitar, and, it's like you just kind of focus on that. But if it's a production show like Janet Jackson, she's up there and there's 50 dancers on stage, and there's lights and there's smoke and there's fire and things shooting up everywhere. You're deciding, are you going in for the tight shot, or sensing when maybe there's a big production moment coming, and pop out your 16 to 35 millimeter wide lens to get a wide shot and hope that you picked the right moment. So there's, I think, a little bit of, over time you develop sort of a sense of when things are happening, and you tap into the patterns of the lighting director who's running the light show. Right. That's a skill that I think you just develop over time, and you start to notice the patterns in the lights, and you can anticipate when something big is about to happen, like a big photo moment. Yes, like you'll see patterns within the song and go, oh, at this point in the first verse of the song, she was here and she does this move, and that looked really cool. I didn't quite get it, but I think she's going to do it in the second verse again. And then you're ready for it, and you get that shot. And you see that a lot in choreographed shows where you can tap into that. Now, you only have 3 songs because that's typically all they give you when you photograph a concert. You get 3 songs, and then you're escorted out. They don't want the photographers to be in the front too long. Number one, it can be it's obstructive to the front row people who waited in line all day, and the artists tend to get a little sweaty, and they don't look at their best. So you want to get them looking their best. Yeah, and that's another thing that's important to me is when I'm working with artists is to always highlight them at their very best and make them look as good as possible. This isn't, I don't think there's a place in our industry for seeking out negative depictions of artists performing, which has happened and caused problems in our industry for photographers being allowed in because they post unflattering photos and things like that. So I really make that a goal to really be critical of my edits and cast the perfect, the most flattering light I can on the subjects.
Your life seems really exciting and reminds me a lot of the film Almost Famous. Are there any similarities?
There's a lot of similarities, actually, and I love that movie. So I grew up, my parents were in a catering business for musicians when I was growing up in Maryland. So they would provide the riders for the artists backstage and put out the crafts, the food spread. They were both very talented cooks, and their friend was a concert promoter. Back in the days when concert promoters weren't Live Nation and AEG, it was like a local promoter. I think here it was Tom Moffat was a big promoter, right? Tom Moffat, right? So there were regional promoters, and there was one in Maryland that they worked for. So I grew up as a little kid backstage at concerts, wandering around those hallways, collecting autographs sometimes, the lanyards and the backstage passes and the t-shirts, and being fascinated by that, not knowing that I would later on go on to be a rock photographer. That was never like the intention. I was actually a psychology major when I went to college, but it ended up becoming my career. And when I see that movie, I relate to that kid so much in that movie, and I love that movie. It's really cool. Any young person who's interested in doing it, I get asked that a lot. How do I, they'll see my photos or see me doing what I'm doing at a concert. How do I do what you do? And I say, go out and seek out any entertainment that's happening that you don't need a press credential to photograph. There's a lot of there's shows in public, especially in Hawaii. It would be a great place to do it. There's entertainment happening normally. Not right now, but normally there's entertainment happening all around the island where you can just show up with a camera and learn how to shoot without having to have a press credential. I think watching artists perform, and I think first off, if you have the passion for music, that's why I got into photographing musicians, is because I was always very passionate about music. But after a lot of years trying to play instruments, I didn't have that innate skill, but I was always a visual person. So it was a way for me to bridge those two things together by photographing the musicians. And I think if someone has a passion for that and they put themselves in that environment and start shooting these artists, you'll start seeing those moments when the artist is in that place of creativity and capturing those little moments of passion into these images and finding the light when it hits them just right, and being aware of those moments. I think it takes, a lot of time to just keep doing it over and over again until you develop that skill. And some people naturally, I think, are gifted and they just have it. I see people pick up a camera and I'm just like, wow, looks like you've been doing this forever. Others, it takes time to build that or to learn that. There are different avenues that someone who is aspiring could take, and there's photo agencies all over the world that are looking for photographers in every market, right? So I don't know how many there are. Let's say there's hundreds of entertainment photo agencies out there, and they need photographers in each market feeding them imagery of what's happening there, whether it's news, entertainment, sports, and that's one way to do it, and that's shooting on spec. So that means you're going out and you're investing in this thing. You're shooting, no one's paying you to be there to do it, but you're sending your photos into the agency in hopes they will license it to Rolling Stone magazine or Time magazine or Sports Illustrated or wherever you hope that photo ends up. And then you get a royalty from that if it sells. And you're also continually building a library online of your stock imagery that you're creating over a period of time. And that's one approach to it. And the other approach is, like I said, working for local publication, if you can find one. If you're out there just creating content on your own already and you go out and shoot some in areas where you don't need credentials, which might be high school sports or college sports, where you can get your camera professional gear in without needing a permit to do it, and getting enough of a portfolio to take to your local publication, whether it's a college newspaper or a city paper or any kind of local press or blog, to just get some photo credits going. And at some point that can turn into a paid position at a publication. And that is your hope, to build it to that point. I think the photo agency is a great way to start to monetize it if that's what you're seeking to do. Because if you can find a photo agency, Getty is the biggest in the world. They're the most known Getty images. Yeah, and I'm sure there's a number of Getty photographers in this market here feeding them imagery every day. Yes, but there's another 100 agencies out there just like them looking for photographers.
Aloha, this is Leilani K. Aloha with Hawaii Entertainment News. Duge Kamialoha, MD, is still filming and has been spotted at the Gunstock Ranch on the North Shore this week. We've also learned that Randall Park is directing and acting in the current episode, so stay tuned. Tiny Beautiful Things opens live on stage at the Manoa Valley Theater, May 6th through 23rd. The Hilo Palace Theater has been going strong with their Live from the Empty Palace online series. The Diamond Head Theater is casting for their rendition of Forever Plaid. To schedule an audition time, please send an email to productions@diamondheadtheater.com. To reserve an audition time, you must send an email by Friday, April 23rd at noon. Any emails sent later than noon will not be seen. The Kennedy Theater at the University of Hawaii Manoa campus gives us a unique treat in a performance of sword stealing. The Hawaii Doc Club is offering documentary film workshops. Register at hidoclub.com. This is Leilani K. Aloha with Hawaii Entertainment News. And welcome back to our talk about still photography with Erik Kabik.
I hope you guys are getting enough to edit together something out of what I'm saying. I'm like, I like this because it's different than any interview I've done. They're always just like, what's it like photographing Kim Kardashian? This is way better. This is way better. I've thought about that a lot because I get asked that a lot about, what is it about the still? There's something about the one moment in time rather than capturing a period of time that I just resonate with. And I think part of it was growing up looking at rock and roll magazines and these rock star moments, these rock star photos by Jim Marshall was one of my, really inspired me a lot. Neil Preston, another photographer, inspired me a lot. So I was trying to draw into that classical approach to photography. And it just always resonated with me to get that sliver of time that's so narrow that captures an emotion that can resonate with you for a long period of time, rather than capturing a long period of time or like a whole song or something on video. It just always worked for me. I started out with a Pentax K1000 camera, film camera, and I learned on black and white in the darkroom. And I really am glad that I'm old enough to have experienced that, because I can't believe I even got photos back then compared to shooting now with digital, because you can just keep going until you get it. Then you had 24 or 36 frames to get something. And that evolved obviously into the digital camera, which I have grown to really love because of the flexibility of it. And I'm still shooting DSLR. A lot of people are moving into mirrorless cameras right now. That's a very popular trend at the moment, and I'm still a fan of the DSLR. I'm waiting for that technology to really sink in and let other people kind of experiment with it before I get to it. Plus, I'm a little old school, so that's part of it. Right now, with still photography, the mirrorless cameras are where it's all heading. That seems to be the future of it at the moment. And I think eventually it's going to be down to a phone-size professional camera, because those mirrorless ones they're tiny little cameras. I'm still got this giant gear I'm carrying around, kind of like dinosaur.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's the gaffer. Everybody knows who has the real power on film sets. Thousands and thousands of watts of power. It's the gaffer. The gaffer, Best Boy Electric, and electricians work with the cinematographer to design the lighting.
Now, Miss Lane, get ready for the greatest story of your career.
The electrical department is responsible for getting light, but also power to the set. A lot of power, and that could be deadly if not handled safely. But who's responsible for safety on a set? That's easy. You are. So believe me when I tell you, when an electrician tells you to do something on set, do it. It's for your safety and for everyone else's.
Every day I go out, and this is my mission right now, I shoot every day no matter what I'm doing, something beautiful. And that's not, I don't have to look very far, on the North Shore. I just look out every day and there it is. And I shoot a sunset, the turtles. I went to the botanical gardens yesterday because they are open again, and I shot these flowers, these amazing flowers and insects, just the nature around us. That's been something I've been really focused on that I never was before, this incredible nature that we have around us here, and showing that through my lens, which I've never done, which I think is part of that, maybe letting the world continually seeing the beauty here rather than hearing the negative news of what's going on right now with the hard times we're going through. I mean, I had an interesting, I tell people it's like an epiphany moment. And it was swimming in the ocean during the rain as the sun was setting. And I just felt that magic feeling of like, I want to spend the rest of my life right here. And I know that a lot of people feel that when they come here, right? Everybody does, and says, hey, I'm going to try to make it go there. But I remember that specific moment when I said I was going to try to do that. That's what I'm using this time for, is to be the best version of myself that I can be, because, I mean, for the last 10 years pretty consistently, I've been on an intense role in my career where it's been very fast and just keeping up with the work. I've been blessed that I've been so busy, and I'm grateful for that. This pause is giving me time to, like you said, it's kind of a reset for all of us, and being our best selves and finding out, like I said, I'm finding that I'm realizing how deeply I have a passion for what I do, and that I'm going to do it no matter what. Whether or not the checks are coming in and I'm working, I'm going to keep doing it. And using this time to prepare spiritually almost for what's to come next, so that you're just being balanced and ready for whatever might change, because who knows what it's going to look like when it comes back. And I mean, we're all hoping in a year from now to be back at concerts and celebrating at food festivals again and all these things, but it could be a while. So looking for other ways to explore what I do with photography, not relying on people and crowds and events, and finding fulfillment through that has been a goal. Hence going out to photograph turtles or taking time to go shoot a sunset on the other side of the island. Yesterday I was out photographing turtles. I shot some hatchlings. I saw a hatchling yesterday for the first time. I was with the Malamana Honu organization. I've been donating my services to them. We go out and photograph them excavating these nests to help the baby turtles come out. So now I'm gone from rock star photographer to turtle photographer, and it was incredible. It was incredible, and I'm finding that this experience with COVID has really brought home the idea that this is what I love to do. No matter what I'm photographing, I just want to capture moments and share them with people, whether it's a rock star in their moment, or a chef making a great meal, or a turtle coming out of its nest, or sunset, whatever it is. I just want to capture those moments, and photography is a joy. I would do it if no one paid me to do it. It's nice to make a living doing it as well, of course. But and I also want to get out, and I'm trying to work right now with some environmental groups. So I do food photography. There's a lot of restaurateurs who are struggling right now in the COVID, and I am offering a lot of them my services and saying, look, I'll come in, and if you're an ocean-friendly restaurant and you're doing environmentally positive practices in your restaurant, I'd love to help you. I'd love to help any restaurateur. I don't only want to limit it to that, but I've kind of started with some of these ocean-friendly ones and just seeing how that works, and maybe use some of my skills right now while I'm waiting to help some other people promote their businesses. I'm doing that stuff with a surf rider right now, where I've just been donating some of my time to local charities in Hawaii who are doing environmental things that I believe in, that I support, and I'm open to other ones as well. And I'm just seeking out anything I can do right now where my photography can be used to advance a movement or something that's good for the community and good for the culture.
Next time on Hawaii Entertainment News.
I think regarding musicians and live, and I'm speaking now to live music, what we need is the support of the venues. A lot of times it's easier, and I have to be careful how I say this, because I have a lot of friends who are DJs, and this is not any way to it's two separate industries and two separate kinds of events. But when you hire a live band, and you have there's a different interaction, there's a different energy between the audience and the band, and I feel that our job is to not only entertain but to keep them engaged, to keep them, there's a joy that I get when somebody comes up and they request a number, and if we know it, I'm glad to play it, and I know a lot of folks are, I'm sorry to say, but I've seen, oh, don't bother us, we have a lineup. I've always tried to stay away from a lineup, because I want to see how the room is, how the people are. And I want to give the best performance to the venue, to the management, to the promoters that have hired us. I want to give them the best opportunity to bring us back and to bring back other live music.
Hawaii Entertainment News, where we will talk about all the news that's happening around the film and entertainment industry in Hawaii.
You're supposed to say, I told you so.
the video game, which means we all have special skills.
Is that it?
I think so.